Massaba's in the middle. Wednesday here could seal it. Gassman finds Masaba.
It's now Bannan. Bannan with a great ball in. Here's an opportunity. Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday.
Jedi, he was playing with Lionel Messi, but he said he was shite, so he got on a flight. Now he's playing for Sheffield Wednesday. What a song, by the way. Anyway, when you score a goal in injury time but concede a goal even later, haven't we seen that one play out already once before this season? The window opens. We all say we need a centre-back. The window shuts. We've not signed a centre-back. First game after said window, we lose a centre-back to what looks like a fairly serious injury. You couldn't write the script. Hello and welcome to the Wednesday Tie-Dye podcast. Alongside me, as it always is Mr. Matt Johnson. Matt, how's it going, mate? All good?
Yeah, not too bad, James. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you very much. I've had my monthly quota of IKEA meatballs, which seems to happen, like I said, every single month, whether I like it or not. So, yeah, I'm happy chappy this evening. Matt, first of all, it is genuinely laughable, isn't it? Like, you know, the whole manner in which, one, that we lost the game, and the centre-back crisis that we've now seemingly got. I mean, can we call it a centre-back crisis?
Yes, it's been a centre-back crisis for a couple of months, James. We've been calling that for a while. Yeah, I mean, it is laughable, especially as on the Thursday when there was kind of like the rumours breaking of, there's a mystery player down in the Wednesday camp and nobody knows who it is. Is it Bannan? Is it Bernard? And like, I think I put it in our Discord chat and just went, it's hilarious if it's Bernard. Like, so funny. As it turns out, Friday is Bannan, Saturday is Bernard.
Yeah, so it's both of them. Yeah,
it's both of them. So you really couldn't write it this week.
He's literally as the window shuts as well, innit? Do you know what I mean? Like, he just sods law that it's going to happen. Do you know what? When he went down, I mean, we're all going to talk about it in a bit. When he went down, I thought, that's it, because it was fairly innocuous. And then he kind of got up and started jogging away. I thought, he's just going to run it off. He's fine, and then he went down again, and he's
down like he'd been shot second time.
I know, just really like this is life as a Sheffield Wednesday fan. Nothing ever goes according to plan, does it at all? Yeah. Before we get on to the match and things, and Barry Bannan's injury and the new signing that we've made as well, the match comes a little bit later. Had we won, maybe we would have talked about it a little bit sooner. But the last away game we had, Matt, you had a few issues getting inside. Tell me, did you manage to watch all 90 minutes this week?
Sadly, yes, James. Even the 100 plus, I did sadly see all of it this week. Yeah, I mean, again, it's the closest away day for me, so it's a really easy one. But yeah, I was welcomed with open arms at the Hawthorns.
No altercations with any stewards or anything like that.
Couldn't have been more friendly, mate. Couldn't have been more friendly. But yeah,
well, it's that native tongue, innit? Do you know what I mean? You're like one of them, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? They welcomed you in.
That's clearly it. That was clearly it. There was no questions of, what are you doing in this set? And there was none of that. It was, yeah, mate, come on in. So, yeah, no, it was fine, James, this week. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm glad to hear that anyway. Let's discuss I would say the big talking point. Yeah, one of the big talking points. As you mentioned, it was rumoured that Bannan had picked up an injury. Danny didn't mention it in the pre-game press conference. Nothing came about it from the media either. I've got a thought on this one. The fact that nobody actually directly asked him, is Barry Bannan injured or not? I've got a feeling they knew, but they've been told not to actually ask that question. But clearly his wife didn't get the memo, and Chloe just put the picture on Insta of him just at home in his civvies and stuff when he should have been down with the team and stuff. So that kind of gave us a bit of an inkling that it was going to be him that was going to be missing. I mean, we still don't know how serious it's going to be. Danny said 7 days, 2 weeks, 4 weeks. I have heard that it could even be the whole season. Some have said it's his foot. It's not his foot, so it must be his knee, because that was the other rumour. Obviously, we are going to be talking about this in more detail, kind of what life after Barry Bannan's going to look like, both kind of short-term and long-term in extra time. So do head over to patreon.com/WTID pod to get that one. But just quickly, Matt, it is a huge blow that he's going to be out, isn't he? He's missed 18 games since the 2018-2019 season. That's just 18. It's absolutely mental.
Yeah, it is ridiculous for a player who is rapidly, he's approaching 30, turns 36 this year.
Same age as me, so yeah.
So yeah,
struggling with his hair just like me as well. So it makes me feel a little bit better.
But yeah, he's still our metronome, and he has been since he come through the door at Sheffield 6. Aside from the injury that happened in the game, this is the worst news we could have had as a Sheffield Wednesday fan. And that is bonkers to say for a player who 2 seasons ago, you'd have said, we need to find a replacement for him. It doesn't need to be now, but he needs to be in 18 months, 2 years' time. He needs to be taking over the reins, and Bannan needs to be brought in as an impact sub. We missed that boat. And now we are in a situation where you're going to have to learn you're going to have to learn as you go in. It didn't, I will say, didn't look great in the first half yesterday without Barry Bannan in there. It looked better in the second half, but still not what you'd want. There wasn't anybody in there who you were thinking through the middle of the park they can unlock anything, they can really change anything here. As good as Shea Charles has been this season, we don't really know what we're going to get from Stuart Armstrong. We've probably seen enough to see of Nathaniel Chalobah to know that he's not that player. It's a problem that you are going to have to solve that arguably is a bit bigger than the centre-back crisis.
Yeah, and do you know what, as well, as I mentioned, 18 times we've missed him in what, 7 years?
Yeah.
So, when we talk about him not playing, it doesn't happen often. He's there. He is, we talk about first names on team sheet. His name is in biro, permanent marker even. Do you know what I mean? It's not just penciled in. He's just on there every single week when he's fit, which is every single week as well. I think he's had what? I want to say 2 injuries. And then this one, in the past, that's it. And they're not even big injuries either. I think he's just always been there, and I just feel like he's almost, to replace him with just one person is going to be very difficult and very costly. It's almost like you've got to get. He's like 2 players rolled into one, with what he offers and stuff. And like I said, we'll be talking about it more, but I just thought yesterday we massively, massively missed him. I said, people have said, we've coped without him before. Again, not many games. And I feel like the whole team's almost built around him just because he's that influential. And just that's someone just to put his foot on the ball and slow it down a little bit. And really missed that, certainly yesterday. Someone who we didn't see yesterday was Rio Hatsuse, I think is how you pronounce it. We'll run with that. Sure. I'm sure he's going to have about 400 different pronunciations, as does every other Sheffield Wednesday player that we've got at the moment. But he came in. One of the worst kept secrets at the club, even though the window's shut. Obviously, you can still make free transfer signings. So he was announced on Thursday afternoon, I think it was. I went for a run on my lunch on Thursday, and then my phone, I saw it come up on my watch that I think it was just like the Japan flag, and then I think it was a little video that the club had put out. And then after that, literally 1,000 messages just from the Discord, or everyone chatting about it. Massively put me off my run, must admit.
Because I wasn't stopping before that, but I had to just to have a check.
Yeah, well, I was trying to read it as I was running, and I think obviously it was, like I said, it was a worst kept secret. It wasn't wasn't anything revolutionary. We pretty much knew what was going to happen. But it's a left back signed from the J League over in Japan. He's made just shy of 200 league appearances for Vissel Kobe, 29 assists and 4 goals as well during his time there. And for those that don't know, they won the J League in 2024 last year. They just run calendar year to calendar year, so they're in there. I think their season gets underway next week, I think it is. So we've signed him in their kind of pre-season. But yeah, from the numbers, decent at set pieces. Crossing ability looks, I think, it's ranked first or second in terms of completed crosses in the J League. So yeah, only 27 as well, decent age. What did you make to that signing?
I'm not going to sit here, James, and say I know anything about him, same as when we were talking about him.
You mean you've not watched every single highlight reel of him in the past 3 or 4 days?
Funnily enough, James, no. I've probably watched the disallowed Jenny Gassama goal more than I have seen his free kick in the past week. But yeah, on the whole, it looks another positive. It looks to be another positive. It's another player in the door. He's a further option to now play in those wing-back areas. Good delivery. You would argue, I made the argument in the summer that Max Lowe was an upgrade on Marvin Johnson. As it's turned out, Max Lowe has been a fantastic addition at centre half, not left wing back. You'd probably suggest this is Marvin Johnson, just Mark II, but much younger. Like similar to when we signed Marvin Johnson in League One. And everyone was going, oh my God, what a player this is, but he's got a couple of years on him.
Can he mark from a corner?
Well, yeah. I mean, if he can't, I was having to think the other day who's got the better Barnet, because Marvin Johnson's always got a decent haircut, and obviously this signing was announced because he'd had a trim in Sheffield.
Hey, do you know what? I saw I typed it in, and the clip that I shared of him scoring a free kick, he's got long flowing locks. I thought I had to check it if I'd found the right person. Luckily for me, it come up with his name underneath, saying that he'd scored, because I thought, that would have been a bit embarrassing if, because that sometimes does happen. You types when you Google someone, you've got no idea who they are or anything like that. It's mainly for the opposition. And I've had it before, talking about a totally different player on a preview show to the actual one that I want to be talking about. But yeah, he's had a fresh trim. Looks the part. Clearly, that was for his photos that he was having, I guess.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is as well, with how light we now are in defensive areas, whether it's wing back or centre back, I really don't want to downplay this, James, but any sort of a body to come in at this point in time, and it be a free signing, and him come with a stamp and seal of approval of one of the greatest midfielders of our generation in Andres Iniesta as well, is... Yeah.
Can he come as well?
It wasn't on my bingo card, I'll be honest, James, a signing sealed and approved by Andres Iniesta for Sheffield Wednesday. But yeah, I am wondering how long it's going to be before we see him. We've been told, with Ibrahim Sissoko, that we might have to wait a little bit because he's, been dealing with an injury before arriving at us. This is a player who hasn't really had a pre-season, to my knowledge, because obviously we were waiting for his contract to finish with Vissel Kobe. So it will be interesting to see how much of him that we do kind of see over this month, really, because he doesn't. Nicest foot in the world, he needs to come in and hit the ground running. And it's always difficult when you arrive at a club in January. And I suppose over the next month we might have more of an idea of where we're going to actually finish. And if that's the case, if we're in a situation where there's pressure off towards the end of the season, it makes it much easier to kind of bed him in ready for next year.
Yeah, I'm sure Dano would have had the conversation maybe today. Rio, any chance you can play centre back at all?
You're 5'11". That's 6 foot basically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same as you. I knew absolutely nothing about him. Yeah. Obviously, the first Japanese player to pull on the blue and white striped shirt. Hopefully, he does pull it on at some point and plays a competitive fixture. But yeah, look, I'm a bit of a stats guy, so when it come out that his numbers were as good as what they are, you can definitely see why he's popped up on Danny's radar, him being a stats guy as well. So yeah, it's I saw the kind of his cross map as well, or his passing map or whatever it was, and I think a lot came from corners on both sides, which is a welcome addition. I think some of the Shea Charles corners have been a little bit better, but still it is an area that we struggle on. And again, his highlights some really good pinpoint crosses. I mean, we cross the ball in a lot anyway. I think we've got the second highest in the league in terms of attempted crosses. So the fact that he's good at that in that area, I'm happy with that. And as well, a few free kicks, because I'm struggling. I know we've mentioned about this a few times, kind of direct free kicks that we've scored, and there isn't many. I think is it a Josh Windass one in League One?
League One promotion season, yeah, at home. I can't remember who it was. It was against one of those teams where we seem to rattle off like 2 or 3 goals in really quick succession. Aside from that, the closest that we've come is a Josh Windass hitting the bar again, hitting the post against Birmingham City last year, which George Byers tucked in the rebound.
Yeah.
Before that, I think Josh Windass again in the FA Cup against Newcastle. I think he hit the bar.
I think the one before that, you've got to go to, I think it's Barry Bannan, Bristol City, I want to say. Like
Stoke, I think, where he beat Jack Butland. Yeah, where he beat Jack Butland in front of the car.
A team in red anyway, you know them. Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah, same thing.
Point being, it's not many. Do you know what I mean? Like whenever it was, there hasn't been many because I think quite a lot of people struggle to actually point them out. But as you mentioned, the signing Rio Hatsuse is. It's an extra player in the door, and I think we're at the point now where if Danny Roll says yes, I want this player, and he's good enough for him, I think we have just got to trust
agreed.
Trust him on that. He's not been wrong many times, has he? So fingers crossed he's not wrong with this one as well. Right, before we get onto the game, then let's just read a few of these comments out. Daniel said, still think we've got a chance at playoffs, but it will be difficult without Bernard and Bannan. Others certainly have to step up. Yes, Danny said that in his post-match, saying that, the players do need to step up, definitely. Ben said, evening, lads. I know I'm stuck record, but who knew as soon as the window shut, we'd have another defender. Lose another defender to injury. Shocking defending once again yesterday. Well done, the recruitment team. Also goes on. Also, Danny needs to stop with the zonal marking bollocks. Nobody marking the post. They scored the winner from. Also, everyone back defending. Leave Gasman on the halfway line. It takes 2 men out. Yeah, I was talking to Tom about the defending, and he just said everyone marks that way. It's like man marking in their zone, if you know what I mean. So he also said that Marv would have got a bollocking for that goal as well. So
I know we're going to come on to it obviously later to discuss it, but for those who were running and jumping and pointing the finger at Shea Charles, Ike Ugbo, of course it went through his legs. James Beadle, it goes through his hands. There's Marvin Johnson is the one who is going to take the most flack, I think, on here from me and you for just the overall situation from that corner.
Yeah, Kian on X has said there's more to him as well than passing. This is also on Bannan. He makes recovery runs, bombs forward, makes big tackles. Defo notices it when he's missing. Matt Talbot's also on X has said, why are we so convinced of playoffs? Let's be realistic. We stayed up last season, so mid-table should be our aim. Yeah, Matt, on that, I do agree, 100%. We sat here and said, I think we both had us 10th or 9th, and that's where we are. So we're kind of trending to where we thought we'd be, and we did say that would be a fantastic season. I just can't help but think we're that close, and it is such a shit season. Like it's such a poor league this year. Will it ever be this poor, and will he ever get a chance of perhaps, who knows what might happen? I mean, we're not ready. We're punching well above his weight, but you just tell that to Leicester City. Should they have ever won the Premier League when they did? Probably not. Do you know what I mean? And it's probably scuppered them for, it's probably the reason why they are where they are, because they've, overindulged and done various other things. But you can't take that away from them. And who knows what would have happened with us. But I do agree, though. We do need to be a bit more realistic. Let's talk about the match then. So, starting lineup: Beadle, Valerie, Ehekwa, Bernard, Max Lowe, Charles, Shalabar, Windass, Armstrong, Gassama and Smith. So Stuart Armstrong making his full debut. Shalabar came in as well, as did Michael Smith, as we kept banging that drum. Clearly Danny Rill heard and chucked him in. Obviously Bannan missed out. That was a forced change. Pato dropped to the bench, as did Jamal Lowe. What did you make to that starting 11, Matt? Because like I said, I've been kind of saying that Michael Smith should be starting for the past couple of weeks. Obviously, clearly he's got his chance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna sound ridiculous here because I know Michael Smith is scoring. For me, he doesn't start games. as frequently as he would or should or did yesterday. I thought it was the wrong call to have him starting yesterday, not from the fact that he's not a threat, not from the fact that he's not going to, be one of our most potent, if not most potent attacking option going forward. It's because we as a side don't score goals in the first half, away from home in particular. We score goals in the second half and we do the majority of our good work in the second half. I would much rather see a fresh Michael Smith coming on with half an hour to go to really get amongst it, to provide a different challenge. As it turned out, Michael Smith didn't really get a kick for 80 odd minutes that he was on the pitch. Inside of 6 minutes, Ike Ugbo comes on and has a chance from a knockdown from Patterson, which Joe Wildsmith makes a spectacular save from. I'm not...
Words that I've never heard in my life, by the way.
Yeah,
Wildsmith making spectacular save.
Good chance for Ike Ugbo. Keeper actually makes a save. That is uttered. And then to add Joe Wildsmith into the mix, what a rare statement. I think... I do completely understand the clamour for Michael Smith to start, but I am a huge advocate of you have to rotate that front three. And I just feel at this point in time, if Jamal Lowe and Ike Ugbo aren't scoring, I'd much rather see Michael Smith coming off the bench to score, because I actually feel so much more confident in Michael Smith coming off the bench and exploiting the gaps that do open up with half an hour to go. We are a second half team away from home in particular. We finish games so strongly all season. I would much rather have the player on the pitch who I feel most confident in scoring this season, which is Michael Smith, coming on to exploit those gaps rather than Ike Ugbo or Jamal Lowe. Because what we asked Michael Smith to do yesterday was go really, really deep into a game. And actually his presence, and it's not for want of trying, the same way as it's not for want of trying with Ike Ugbo or Jamal Lowe, our strikers don't get opportunities in the first half. They just don't. Especially our centre forward, our good work comes out wide. That was the only thing that I sat there and thought I was really happy with the midfield three. Thought that was great. Thought it was the right call, especially with the injury news to Bannan, obviously, that we'd heard a couple of days before. It seemed like the really smart and sensible option. Okay, it didn't work. I think everybody has to put their hands up there, including the coaching staff, and go, right, why didn't that work? I think there are a number of reasons, really. Aside from that, I thought it was the strongest side that we could physically have put out yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on the Smith comments as well, and the whole kind of not playing in the first half and doing everything in the second. It's just, it must be difficult, because I do find all those players, I want to chuck Paul Valentin into this conversation as well, but all the players that seem to do well off the bench, they get given that chance. There is that clamour to start them, and then they never really take it. There's not many that have, like I said, played well, having come on for a few games, and then they start, and then they look a bit ordinary and a bit average. Again, I don't know how that's because of the way that we've been playing or not. The other thing as well with Smith, we don't seem to play to the strengths of the strikers that we've got. We play Smith and we go to feet. We put Ugbo on and we chuck it long. And you think it should be the other way around, really. To be honest, let's just play with play to the strengths, and we might do a little bit better. So yeah, it is just frustrating. I did feel like he was a little bit lost. Just read a few more comments out talking about people that had lost. Gary thinks that Armstrong was miles off it, unlike the other Armstrong, unfortunately. Charlie said we needed two defenders and a striker, and we failed to do so, and then going to lose Bannan and Bernard. I'm going for 10th at best with this squad. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Sarah said, totally agree. You could see who was lacking without Bannan. What's a Wednesday game if you don't see that man running around like a headless chicken, getting us out of this shit? Hope he has a speedy recovery, but we so need a younger Baz in the squad, ready for the day that announces he's going. Yep, 100%, Sarah. Do agree on that one. Do get your comments in as well on X and YouTube. But we'll read as many out as I possibly can. Matt, just in terms of a summary then on the game, for me, I just think there were a few key points. One, we've already talked about how much we massively missed Baz. The other one, I think Dish going off, and then we resorted to having Virgil van Mijk alongside Max Lowe at centre back. what must Otabeo think that we're playing a left back there instead of him? The disallowed goal was obviously huge at 0-0. I think that's the massive turning point. Had that one have been counted, had he waited longer than 16 seconds and actually given the goal, then we could be sitting here with a different result. And then just like the switching off defensively right at the end, it's just kind of inexcusable, really. Another set piece goal as well. Do you know what? Up until that point, they had loads of set pieces. I think 10, 11 corners I think they had in the end. And I was sat here thinking, we've done all right. We've defended most of them. Smith, most of his work were done in our box, defending the corners. And just really frustrated that it's probably the worst delivery that they put in of the whole game that they actually score from. And celebrated as if they'd won the FA Cup or something like that. But yeah, what was your kind of summary of the game?
I personally thought over the course of the full 90 minutes, to use a proper cliche, game of two halves, West Brom were by far the superior side in the first half and realistically should have been one, if not two up. Had it not been for some heroics defensively, I thought James Beadle in the first half was outstanding. Even if he wasn't making saves, he was, pressurising opposing players into making decisions quickly by coming out to them. I think he made I think it was their defender Hegem who hit the outside of the post with after an initial save that he makes, he gets up and he's right out at him, narrowing the angle down. Carlin Grant then gets slipped through. For all the world, it looked like he was just going to bend it into the corner. He takes a semi-heavy touch and Beadle's at his feet, makes a wonderful save. I thought Adam Armstrong was the best player on the park by a million miles for either side. Every single time he picked the ball up, it took one touch to get under control, and then he was either turn and run straight at goal, or he was looking to lay it off to a player and then get himself into the box. And it just went to show in that first half, we just couldn't deal with the movement. We just could not cope with him. We couldn't cope with, I thought the two wide players who were initially on the pitch for West Brom in Carlin Grant and Grady Dean Garner, I thought we actually managed really, really well. It wasn't until they made the substitutions in the second half that actually more joy and more danger appeared to arrive on the flanks, which is kind of what I'd expected from the start of the game, really, as I thought West Brom were going to be really, really strong in those wide areas. And actually, it wasn't until they brought on Tom Fellows and Mikey Johnston that actually they really started to cut inside with real purpose and get shots away. Second half, I thought, although West Brom had chances, Marvin Johnson made a really fantastic block. He also then turned one onto his own post that then come off Beadle, that then Beadle caught. I honestly thought, and I know this is bonkers having said all that, I actually thought they were really lucky to go 1-0 up, and it was the only opportunity where they properly carved us open, West Brom. We then did what we do away from home, turn up the pressure with 15 minutes to go and just get yourselves back into the game and a foothold. And at the minute with Wednesday, a chance is going to fall. And for all the world, it looked like that was going to be it. And we were going to call it a day. And it's been our Achilles heel since the start of the season, James. And it's pointless going back into it. Time and time and time again, we cannot defend set pieces.
Hey, we've got a new set piece coach, Matt. We should be good at these.
We should. We're not. It was just... It was really, really difficult to take, but also I'm not going to be sour enough to sit here and go, oh my God, it's ridiculous. How many times have we done that to teams this season? We've done that a number of times this season, scored late to get back into it, where if you were if you were of a West Brom persuasion yesterday, you would have sat there and gone, how have we drawn that? We've had all the running, all this. They've not really tested Wildsmith, and they've somehow nicked it. It just ended up being shoe on the wrong foot. And horrible feeling at the end of the game. But ultimately, I think when the dust settles later on, at the end of the season, I suppose, you could look back at it on the balance of play and go, do you know what? Should have been a draw because of how late we scored, but you can't really argue too much.
Yeah, I mean... Just on the performance a second, Matt. Don't really want to talk much about the first half because I feel like it's just the way that Danny wants to play and just kind of soak up the pressure and stay in the game, which we've talked about that last week, and how dangerous it can be, especially if you concede a goal. We didn't, we went in at 0-0. That were, plan was kind of working at that point. For me, the second half, kind of what changed it for you? Did we just kind of go through the gears? Is it because I know we make a few subs and stuff, but I think from the get go in the second half, we see, well, the initial first 2 or 3 minutes, it was like, oh dearie me, like it's carried on, but then we just seemed to get a foothold in the game, and it was a bit end to end in parts. And to be honest, most of the football we kind of played in there off as the game kind of wore on. But did you notice anything drastic that had changed?
There was a shape change, obviously, that came later, but it's really stupid to boil it down to this, but it did just feel like it was the intensity that the players were actually playing at, because I've said over the course of this season, we need more quality. We all know we need more quality in that squad if we are going to consistently challenge for a top 6 place. But yesterday, that first half, there were one side who were really, really up for it, and everything was snappy. That was passing, that was pressing, it was closing down, it was winning the ball. How many times in that first half, James, did it feel like our defenders would try and make a pass out at the back and it would just be a West Bromwich Albion player who would nick in and do it?
I thought we were down to 10 men in that first half. That's how it felt.
But then roles reversed in the second half. How many times did we allow them to have it, back them into a corner, and then the pass out would be nicked by Shea Charles or Jeddy Gassama, or Josh Windass would nick in? The midfield three, I think, in the first half really typified it, in terms of we had a player yesterday at the base of it who just simply isn't mobile enough to play without the ball. He's fine playing with the ball, in terms of, we saw at Preston away, I'm talking about Chalobah here.
Yeah. In the Nathaniel Chalobah derby, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the Nathaniel Chalobah derby, the Adam Reach derby. We were rattling them all off the other day. There's some obscure ones.
Chris Adamson.
Adamson derby, yeah, of course.
That is the one.
I just don't think he's mobile enough to play in a championship side that don't dictate possession. Because if we were talking about Bannan earlier, if you drop Bannan into that midfield three yesterday, West Brom don't have the time to dictate the tempo that they did in the first half. You're not playing to their rhythm. You're forcing the issue a little bit more. We just got deeper and deeper and deeper. And as a result, Shea Charles had probably his worst game since he's played at his first game at Millwall. Because it looked to me, the entire 90 minutes, he was trying to figure out what the hell was going on around him. It was like, there's a runner there going, they're normally okay, I'm going to have to do that. And then when the ball arrived at his feet, he picks his head up to look for what is normally, that's where you should be as his partner. And there was nobody there. And
I was going to say that. I was going to come on to that a little bit later on. But do you think he just missed Bannan? Because I agree with you. I think it was his poorest performance. He didn't look his usual self. You could attribute their first goal maybe to Shea Charles not following the runner and things like that. I just did think he just looked. Whereas most games you notice him and we're singing his praises. I don't know whether it's because he's so good we expect so much. He's almost like the Bannan effect, that because he wasn't as good we think he's played shit, or whether he just actually was poor. But I certainly think he did miss Bannan anyway.
Yeah, and I think that's it. We have sat here this season and said what a fantastic player he is, and he's dragging the best out of Bannan. You saw yesterday, the compliments paid exactly back the same way, because Bannan allows him to play his game, because he knows if he goes charging into a tackle and the player rolls him, he knows that Bannan is also going to be tearing back with him to try and win the tackle.
I think it's that trust, Matt, as well.
100%, yeah, because we've seen this year, I'm sure I've said it on here, I know we have definitely said it on here, the trust that when Bannan plays well is he completely and implicitly trusts the player who is alongside him. And it seemed yesterday like vice versa for Shea Charles previously, in terms of he's had implicit trust and knowledge of where players are going to be. Now, do I think he distrusts either of those players? No, because technically they're both good footballers. But he doesn't know. It appeared yesterday like he didn't know what they were going to do, where they were going to be, where those kind of those small little layoffs were going to be. And I suppose that will come. But the problem is you're 3 points off playoffs, and you need to start winning games now. You're 50, there's 15 games left. You've got to take your points, and you haven't really got the opportunity or time to bed players in and sort of find their rhythm and all the rest of it. I will give Paul Valentin and Svante Ingolson some credit, because I thought when they came on, just the sheer athleticism and willing to run either in behind or carry the ball forward actually dragged us 10, 15 yards further up the pitch and actually forced a game in the last 15 minutes and made us really kind of like get back into it. You then add on Ike Ugbo and Callum Patterson for the last 15 minutes, who I thought both were excellent when they came on. Actually, we started being able to go long, and because Callum Patterson, for 15 minutes, if you ask him to be an agent of chaos, he does that really, really well. It's just... apologies all, it's the anniversary of Ike Ugbo's first 2 goals for Sheffield Wednesday today. It's just when that ball falls to Ike Ugbo on the 88th minute, you know he's not going to score, because the only place he should be going as a striker is back across the goalkeeper. The credit to them for the goal. Obviously, I know we're going to come on to talk about it. It's Svante Ingolson who causes all of that by running in behind, and that simply was not happening until that intensity was brought onto the pitch by those players. It's nothing against Nathaniel Chalobah. It's nothing against the other players who were dragged off for those substitutes. It's just in the nature of a game where you are competing against sides like West Brom. We've got Coventry in a week. We've got Burnley coming up. We've got Sunderland. They are going to dictate and monopolise the ball. They are going to want to play at their tempo. You have to force them to do something uncomfortable. And if you don't have the quality of players to go like for like with them and get them out of it, you have to find a different way to do it. And the last 15 minutes, we did so.
Yeah, definitely. Something that did happen in the first half, Matt, was Deshaun Bernard going down, which the West Brom fans thought he was time wasting, which... mad when he goes off with an injury, and then anyway, beyond me, I didn't quite get that one, but it didn't look good, did it? You know, Danny said that he's fearing the worst. That was in the post match. You know, whether he's just saying that just because he is fearing the worst, or just because he doesn't know, I've no idea. But it looked an innocuous kind of injury that he'd picked up, and when. You know, obviously there was someone round him, but they didn't seem to touch him. And then he kind of goes down, and you think, oh, whenever that happens, it's never great. You know, he jogged it off a bit, carried on, and then he had to go down again. Which, they were saying on the comms, like, you know, that could be whenever that happens, it's normally a lot worse. But yeah, when you look at the centre back options, we've literally got Michael Ahekwa and Otugbeo. And that's it, really. In terms of natural centre-backs, I know people will be saying, yeah, Valerie can play there, Palmer can play there, you know, Max Lowe can play there, but I think all those options are more kind of in a 3 than playing as a back 4. But it does look like we're going to be putting square pegs in round holes once again, isn't it, really? I mean, it's almost like we should have signed a centre-back a few weeks ago.
It's almost like Plymouth have gone out and signed 2 new central defenders, and then they've held Liverpool today. So, I mean, I know there was some obviously reports saying that Danny was offered centre halves, whether that's from the recruitment team, whether that's from other clubs around or agents touting them about. I'm not sure. He didn't feel comfortable with either of them. I personally am of the opinion that the club have backed themselves into a corner with the centre-half situation by not effectively recruiting in the summer, by leaving it so late, by bringing back Dominic Iorfa, Deshaun Bernard. When you lose Bambo Diaby as well, you needed to go and recruit somebody into there. Now, you could argue that Otugbeo has actually stepped up to fill that Bambo Diaby role, but we had a problem with centre-halves last year. And you know that 2 of those centre-halves in Famewo and Iorfa have had an injury history at the club. You needed another for cover. Yeah, it seems really silly because I'll be honest, looking at the way in which not for the first one where Deshaun Bernard went down, but the second one, because obviously he got taken off the pitch and was told clearly to give it a go. And I think he gave away a corner. I think it went out for a corner. He gave away a corner, and the way he went down, you were just looking at it thinking, "Oh my god!"
On the pictures, he looks absolutely devastated as well. Which it seems, you know, most footballers know, don't they, when something's fairly bad, and you know that it could be done for the season. I mean, to be fair, I think Deshaun Bernard in recent weeks has looked a bit ropey. He's not been as good as what he has been, but but he's still, by far our best centre back that we've got. You know, if you said to me, an off the pace Deshaun Bernard or a Michael Ehekwe, I'm gonna go with Deshaun Bernard every day of the week. Do you know what I mean? So it's just really frustrating for me. On what I think's happened, again, I've got nothing to back this up, but in terms of the not signing a centre back, I just feel I've heard that Barry Bannan were playing through the injury, and he shouldn't have played against Luton, but did. Playing with injections. Some people have said players play with injections anyway, certainly of his age. Fair enough, but I've heard that he'd picked up this knock before then. We brought Armstrong in just before the Luton game, just a couple of days before. I feel like we didn't want to bring Stuart Armstrong in, but because we know we're going to be missing Barry Bannan for quite some time and how influential he is, we've kind of had to bring someone in of a similar ilk that we can find to kind of replace Barry Bannan, hence why we've got Stuart Armstrong. And my theory is that we've kind of blown up most of his budget on bringing Armstrong in, and we haven't got much left in the pot to bring a centre back in. And then the ones that we can bring in, as you mentioned, he's been offered a few, perhaps aren't good enough because we're not paying up either enough wages or anything like that. And I know what doesn't help either is the fact that he put that we didn't have the list until 2-3 weeks into the window or whatever it was, if you're led to believe kind of what was said at the fans forum and things like that. So that's where I see it. And I just see it's just a huge blow, not just it wasn't just a blow for yesterday because that was bad enough, but it's more the long term for me.
Yeah, because when a player goes down like that and it's a knee injury, the first thing that you immediately think is ligament damage. And if you're talking ligament damage to knee, dependent on how serious, you could be talking anywhere from 2 months, 3 months to 9.
Yeah.
Like that's not only your season done if you're Deshaun Bernard. If it's, say for argument's sake, it's an ACL or an MCL, it's not just 9 months, it's 9 months and then you have got to really start learning how to play football again.
Yeah.
They're not easy injuries to get over. And this isn't a centre-half who's blessed with pace. Now, of course, we'll probably learn more about that in the coming weeks as to whether he's going to be there or not. But as a club, I wouldn't be surprised as a fan base if we don't hear anything about how bad it is, because we didn't actually hear what Akinfenwa had done. Like, I suspect with the length of injury, it was a torn quad muscle, like an actual proper tear, because he's been out 4 months. That was Portsmouth, wasn't it? Away that he did that.
It was, yeah.
But we've never been told, oh, this is the injury, this is what's happened. Here's your time frame, get used to it. Which this has existed since the Darren Moore times, hasn't it? That we as a club don't give out this type of information.
We don't give any information out on anything.
No,
not even length of contracts,
no
amount we paid for players. It's just like, I think it's easier to get things out of MI5 than it is to get out of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club.
But honestly, it would go a long way the minute that the club find out that prognosis of what's actually happened to Deshaun Bernard, to just release that information to supporters, because actually what I would imagine it will do is actually change or temper expectations based on that. Because if legitimately, if he is not going to make it back for the remainder of the season, or it's going to be touch and go, say for argument's sake, he might be back for like the last game of the season. That's best case scenario. It would be better to tell fans that, so that they're not every week going, well, we haven't got a centre half, where's Deshaun Bernard?
Yeah.
Like, we're just hearing about Dominic Iorfa's started training and running on grass and bits and pieces like that. And we've seen some very tentative footage of Akinfenwa as well. Neither of those look like they're going to be back in the next 2-3 weeks. So you are now looking at, okay, Gabe Otegbayo, who has been nicest will in the world, hit and miss, but he's a kid. That's not his fault. Max Lowe, who has been sensational this season, but again, we go back to that point, he is not a centre-back. Jan Valery, who looks brilliant at Coventry away, but aside from that, majority of his good work has come in the wider positions. Then who? Callum Patterson? Liam Palmer? It's just... it goes back and it wraps up obviously into everything that people were discussing around that deadline day, doesn't it, James? This is a real opportunity, because nicest will in the world, if people think that the top 3 is a closed shop this year, you just wait until next. Like, everybody in that league is fighting out for 3 playoff spots next year. Like, that top 3 is a closed shop next year. It will be Southampton, it will be likelihood Leicester and Ipswich. And that is it. It's not going to be anybody else.
Yeah, and then add into that one of the top 4 that aren't going to go up this season. Do you know what I mean?
And then you playoff teams.
And maybe even, you know, there could even be 2 of the top 4. Do you know what I mean? The playoffs is a lottery, isn't it? You know, it could be... it could be even worse. So yeah, it's going to be big. And the other thing as well is, you know, you see teams coming up as well, like Birmingham, that are going to be coming up. Like, you know, they're a big team. They're going to
spend money.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, if Derby, not saying that Derby are a big team, but if they stay up as well, you know, the league is, you're not going to be losing many big sides. And same with the ones that are going up as well. Other than it's going to be tough. I'm just going to read a few comments out, and then we'll just talk about that goal that wasn't a goal that should have been a goal. Kian says, didn't get the sub of Johnson, to be fair. He was already getting leathered all half. Dish goes off. Put Otagbeo on and keep low at left back. With putting Johnson on, it just makes us even more vulnerable to concede, and everyone can see Johnson couldn't give a flying one to defend or show any attempt to. Phil on X has said our game management was poor. When we went 1-1, why was Paul trying a long throw which didn't reach the box and put us under pressure when Ingleson was on the pitch?
Can I just, Phil, I would love to hear which was worse, Joey Pelupesi or Izzy Brown's corner at Preston away and Rotherham at home respectively, or that fucking throw-in. Because honestly, I've got a 4-year-old upstairs, fast asleep. If I woke him up now, I reckon he could throw something further than that. Oh my God.
But you know what? Do you know what gets me though? Yeah, there's that. But also all the other players that just expect him to be able to throw it that far. Do you know what I mean? Like, why are they not stood a little bit closer to make it a bit easier for him?
Mate, the lad who cleared it away, I can't remember who the defender was. That lad could have brought it down, travelled 20 yards further with the ball, then played a crossfield pass before any Wednesday player was near him. What a shocker.
Yeah, I did think that. I was like, why is Paul taking this one? Like, I thought for a split second when he was taking it, I thought, has Ingleson gone off? Like, has he been subbed off or something like that? Subbed a sub? Is that what we're doing nowadays? That, because I was a bit baffled, but yeah, I do agree, Phil, 100%. At least the throw was better than what was I watching? It was Leicester against Man United. Obviously,
Friday.
The Man United pitch is like a slope, isn't they? Yeah. You know, other side of the pitch. This young lad, this Leicester kid, I don't know what he was thinking, but he thought, I'm going to run up the hill and then attempt a long throw, and he slipped and fell over, which was hilarious. The best thing about it, they got given the throw in because the Man United lad had done a foul throw.
Oh my God!
So then, then the referee actually allowed the Leicester one, which, yeah, it was comical. It was mad. Right, let's talk about that disallowed goal. As I mentioned before, huge turning point. You know, great goal, by the way. You know, the way that he kind of cut inside and smashed it across Joe Wildsmith. But yeah, for it to get choked off, I think Danny said 16 seconds later. I've never seen anything like it other than Plymouth, which someone said was incidentally 2 years ago, I think, pretty much to the day when that one happened. But just there's a couple of things. I mean, at the time, I was absolutely fuming that it had been choked off. Maybe looked like a right idiot with all the tweets that I put out saying that we'd scored. I quickly deleted them because I thought, you know what, some West Brom fans are going to get hold of this one and not hear the end of it. So it was one of those, those keyboard smash kind of tweets that you do. I think I just said, we're getting hammered here. And then Jenny Gasama pulls up and does that. But yeah, I've watched it back a few times, and I think it's because Windass has run across Annie when he's in an offside position. I've seen a few people saying that when the ball's hit, he's not interfering. I think it's because he runs across the keeper. My other question is, what the fuck is he doing? Like, why is he running across like he's offside to start off with? I mean, he's running across to try and get a touch and to direct it in. I think that's what he's looking to do. But it's just so annoying because it was a great goal and it's just a matter. I thought we had VAR again with how long it took.
Yeah, Well, the ball from Marvin Johnson is fantastic. The run from Jeddy Gassama is great. Jeddy Gassama's probably offside on that as well. But then he doesn't give it. Incidentally, the linesman is 10 yards the wrong side of the defence. He's like basically, he's closer to the halfway line than he is actually up with play. So he doesn't give it then, and the ref doesn't give it. That is the one where the majority of the West Brom back line appeal for, because it is, I mean, it's clearly obvious. I think when you watch it back on replay, I'll be honest, being in the stand, you had no idea. When you watch it back on replay from the TV angle, he's offside. It's a brilliant little slowdown of movement, and we saw that a lot from Jeddy Gassama in that second half yesterday. Really slow him down. It was Darnell Furlong, wasn't it, who's at right back for them, who is one of the better fullbacks in the division. Slows him right down, takes him in, goes to shape down the line, then cuts out. The shot is fucking awful. Like, it's perfectly positioned, but my God, there is no pace on it. But yeah, so from what I can gather,
marginally better than his shot when he got the penalty against Luton.
Yeah, same level of power. From what I can gather, James, it's Windas's direction of the run that he carries on with as it goes across the line of the goalkeeper. That's what causes the offside. So when that shot come in, Josh Windass checked his run and run straight at goal, he would have been fine. But it's because he's run across that line of sight, because he's running across the keeper, that's deemed as interfering with play. I personally feel it's one of those ridiculous rules, and it's an example of why the offside rule is so far overcomplicated now. By the letter of the law, he is offside. Like, there's no two ways about it. Like, it's just what it is. But again, it comes back to when Jeddy Gassama then sprints off. If you actually go back and watch the highlights, and it is on the extended highlights that the club have put out, if you just look at the referee, don't look at, I think he's bottom left of the picture. If you look at the referee, he's got his hand to his ear and his other hand out as if to say, wait. Now, Jeddy Gassama's off, knee sliding. Then he's up on the fucking barriers. He's got Shea Charles behind him, all the rest of it. But the referee was clearly always going to check it.
Yeah, because I think it's one of them ones where the lino is he's just on looking side on, so he's only looking if that player's offside or not.
Or touched
from where he is, you're waiting on the ref to say, did he actually was he interfering or not? And I suppose that's what it is. They're asking, and of course the goal goes in. It's just the loud noise. That's why he's kind of had to come over. Probably can't even hear each other either. So it just massively frustrating though, because again, it's fine margins, isn't it? We've been up until that point. There was only one team in it. We were just starting to come into the game, and I think obviously after that goal they got choked off. We did come into it more. I know we then go on to concede, but it was more of an open game at that point. It's just massively frustrating, because I think that would have if that had that goal gone in, I think it would have knocked all the stuffing out of West Brom. Do you know what I mean? Because when you're massively on top and then you go 1-0 down, obviously you could argue against the run of play, but I think it was more to do with the way that we set up and the way that we just come into the game a little bit later on, and then we'd have just got more momentum there, and who knows what would have happened. I mean, us going a goal ahead, it's rare, isn't it? But normality was resumed, and we did go a goal behind, as we did. I think someone put out there, is it something like 13 or 12 or something of 15 games that we've gone behind in away from home? Absolutely ridiculous stat. And we've won a few. We've won 7 of them as well, which is mental. But for me, you cannot give Adam Armstrong that sort of time and space that he got. I mean, it's a great finish. He had a lot of work to do, but as I mentioned before, I think I'm going to pin it on Charles a little bit. He's got to track his man. He's just jogging. He's just letting him go straight past him, and then the ball gets cut back to him, and it kind of went in slow motion as well. I'm like, Beadle, just get there, but he just couldn't quite. Just put it in the perfect spot, didn't he, for him to get that goal.
Agreed. I think the runners from West Brom, that's what you saw when they brought on Mikey Johnston and Tom Fellows. The runs that they make into the channels to really, because it was the first time that they opened us up. Don't get me wrong, we were all over defensively as that attack mounted, but they really exploited it. And the passes in were crisp and slick. The ball back to Adam Armstrong is waist height, and he's running onto it, and he somehow manages. I mean, this is a striker who has scored 1 in 3 his entire career, and for anybody who wasn't blinded by that lad who was at Leeds last year, who then went off to Brighton on loan, he was the best striker in the division by like a long way in terms of his movement and his energy. And again, he was the best player on the pitch yesterday. It's such a clever finish. Like, it is such a clever... There's no point in saying, like being sour about it, because again, for me, I take the point. Charles has to track the runner. Last week, I said Jan Valery did the right thing in standing off him. This one, he's got to get out to him because he's got acres of space. Because he does have the time, because the ball's not fired in at him. The ball's sort of like lofted in. And Armstrong has to like run round it to adjust and then get his foot on it. I think Valery's got to come out and try and close down that angle, because I think if he does, he probably gets a block in. Take nothing away from the finish. It's right in the corner, gives Beadle absolutely no chance. It's a wonderful finish, and I suppose that is what a loan of a Premier League striker gets you. Like, it's a wonderful finish.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few chances after that as well. You've already kind of mentioned the Ugbo chance that we had as well. But then, we're in injury time. Patterson's come on. The super sub as he has been for a few times. I know he wasn't against QPR, played the full 90, but he certainly has been a super sub before. But the ball gets fired in. Wildsmith does his best to try and help us by just palming the ball out, bang into the middle of the 6-yard box. Yeah. It comes to him, and I'm cheering already when it comes to him first time, thinking, I know there's a man on the line.
There's no way he's going to miss.
He's not going to miss this one. And then he puts it straight at him. I'm like, Okay. And then arguably the chance he does score, I mean, then he tries to hit it at him again, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's hit it with his left foot, swung his foot at it, and then the lad kind of heads it into the roof of the net. Thankfully for us, pandemonium ensues. But yeah, it's just what he does, isn't it? He just has this knack of just popping up and getting goals. And kind of, I was going to say vital goals. It was vital at the time, to get what we thought was going to be a point. But he certainly does have an impact, as much as people might think he's crap and everything. He just seems like the knack of having this impact on every game he seems to play in.
Agreed. Again, as I said right at the top of this, James, if you're bringing him on to be an agent of chaos and cause problems, he's great for that. Like, and again, I don't think we've got anybody at the club who causes or has as much of an impact in games late on when you need something and actually you do start loading it long a little bit. The surprising thing for me yesterday was, the run from Svante Ingelsson, when the ball's played from Marvin Johnson, I honestly didn't think he was getting there. It looks for all the world as if that ball's going out. And he somehow manages to wrap his foot around it. Now, I will say Joe Wildsmith made a couple of good saves yesterday, and I'm not going to be too sour about him as and all the celebrations and all the rest, because he did get a lot of abuse from the away end yesterday at the end of it. If that was James Beadle who made that save, the amount of people who'd be going, fucking shit, he's palmed it straight into him, blah blah blah. He made 2 really smart saves. Had we taken a point yesterday, you would have had to have blamed the goalkeeper, because the cross that comes in ain't great from Svante Ingelsson. It's sort of like screwed back into the area. It's not hit with any pace. It's not. He palms it straight out into the area where, when the ball was rolling to Callum Patterson, because it honestly felt like it was taking an age for it to arrive at Callum Patterson, for all the world, I was thinking, he's just going to lash this in. He's just going to lash this in. And then obviously there's that
P-roller, weren't it?
Yeah, and there's that pinball between the two of them. One thing I will say, because I know we're going to come on to talk about the heartbreak in a second, absolute bedlam in that away end when that went in. Oh my word. It was carnage, absolute carnage in there. Because I think it was, again, as you say, I think over the course of the 90, probably felt like a draw would have been a fair result, especially with how we'd finished the game. We'd had a couple of chances and we built pressure late on. I say with long throws, because Ingelsson managed one long throw and then managed to throw one right on. So managed to do a Paul Valentin about 5 minutes before that. And we had built that pressure, and it told. And I think if you were a West Brom fan, because I know we're going to come on to talk about the winner in a second, you must have felt it's last week repeated all over again. Totally dominant in a game, have all the chances, look for all the world like you're going to... And that is, I think, why it added to the celebrations at the end for them. And you go and throw it away late on. And yeah, I'll be honest, at that point, it isn't like Sheffield Wednesday seasons of previous. I was thinking, well, we'll see this out. Like, we will see this out. Like, all you've got to do is keep the ball down in their area, which is exactly what we did for another 3 minutes until we took a fucking appalling throw-in.
All we needed to do is what Plymouth did to Liverpool earlier today.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
And not even for as long either.
No.
But yeah. Duran Roberto said, don't you just love Matt's logic? He's the don at summing things up. You can tell he's a teacher. Some love for you there, Matt.
Kids don't feel the same, mate. I'll be honest with you.
And then Matt on X said, the referee was awful. Twice he overruled the linesman. Gave them a corner that came off a West Brom player. Linesman flagged for a goal kick. Referee wasn't interested. He also gave Bernard a free kick when he first went down injured. He fell over and got a free kick. Yeah, I do agree that first one, he never touched him. So I can understand why the West Brom fans would be annoyed. But don't get annoyed at Deschamps Bernard. Get annoyed at the ref. Do you know what I mean?
My word. Yeah, they were giving him some pelters as he was coming off. Which
bloke's knees nearly fell off, man. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I will be honest. Like, again, I've quite openly said it on here. I do have a lot of time for West Brom fans because they are, in my experience of West Bromwich Albion fans, the majority of them are incredibly logical and do see the game for kind of pretty much what it is. That was head loss yesterday from a number of them yesterday who were booing him. He's got his head in his hands, in his shirt. He can't walk around the pitch unassisted. I get that you want to take a corner, but he physically can't walk around to like get off the pitch at the halfway line. Like, just give it a bit of a break here. So
yeah, nearly stretched him off.
I did think it was slightly poor form that yesterday.
Yeah, but honestly though, this club, you know, when you think you've snatched a point, and let's not forget, Beadle, you know, made a great save. I mean, he made some brilliant saves all game, but just moments before to give away that corner, and then it was a great save, and then we just fall asleep from that corner. Front post, again, one of the worst corners that you've seen all game. Just so frustrating. It's like, you know, the Mario Balotelli, the why always me. It's like, why always us? You know what I mean? Like, come on, it's only a point, lads. Let's just, I've just lost for words, Matt. I know that's a bad thing on a podcast.
It's a bad thing on a podcast, that, mate. Yeah. I think. Okay, we've hinted at it, James. Let's dig into Marvin Johnson and his errors for this goal. The corner
he did his best Adam Reach impression anyway.
Mate, the corner's shit. The corner is appalling, but all game when we've defended them well, there is a reason for it because Jan Valery is at that near post. He's at the near. He runs every single attacking corner for us. He runs past and beyond the near post to get a flick on. Every defensive corner, watch him. He stands in front of the near post to head everything away. Yesterday, he'd come off by that point, and it was Ike Ugbo. Ike Ugbo is inside the goal. So whether Ike Ugbo's directive or not for that is to stand inside the goal, let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say it is. Somebody's out of position there. Jason Malumbi, who ends up scoring the goal, is on the penalty spot with Marvin Johnson.
Yeah, and around about that point.
And as the taker goes to raise his hand, he starts the simplest run in football, which is run to the near post. And not one fucker picks him up. When you go back and watch it and you know it's him who scores, have a look at him. He's got the freedom of the Hawthorns. He goes unchecked. There's nobody who blocks him. There's nobody who tries to get in his way. Marvin Johnson's not goal side of him. Marvin Johnson then waits until he's 5 yards away from him and then shouts, "Oh shit, your man," at Shea Charles. Shea Charles tries to get out of it. I think the interesting thing is, because do you know what? It's an absolute dog of a finish, but it's a really smart one because he doesn't try and like guide it with an instep. He literally lets it hit the outside of his boot and just helps it on. Shea Charles misses it. Of course, it goes through Ike Ugbo's legs. Of course, it goes through James Beadle's hands. Squirms over the line. He runs off celebrating like he's won the World Cup. West Brom fans. To be fair, I'm not going to be salty about the celebration. I honestly thought, fucking hell, we're on for a second version of Adebayor here, the way he took off. It was shirt come off, and then he was sprinting down, and I think he realised, I can't get all the way down there. And he just he almost like stops at the bench and then starts to have a fit in front of their bench. Tony Mowbray's going off. Danny Roll's going bloody ballistic. yeah, again, it was...
Basically, he was saying, I'm going to get on this end of season DVD.
One way or another, I am being a program cover. Like, I've got, again, to be fair, because I mean, he did come in for some stick yesterday, Jason Malumbi. I've got no problem with him being a wind-up merchant, like none whatsoever. We love it when Callum Patterson does it. Like, absolutely love it. But I did notice yesterday he started very early. He's the one who hooks down Jeddy Gassama off the advertising boards after we equalise.
Yeah.
He then
the referee said absolutely nothing about, by the way.
Yeah, like nothing. He then obviously celebrates. I think Joe Wildsmith then claims the ball and he's stood there smacking the badge like he plays for Sheffield United in front of the away end. And then obviously the game finishes and they immediately chuck his song on. He actually spent more time celebrating in front of Sheffield Wednesday fans than he did West Brom fans yesterday, because he come down, shook everybody's hand on the way down, and then stood there in front of them. That, of course, riles everybody up. And then he causes that massive melee at the end. I think it's because...
Got his mate sent off as well.
Oh, mate, honestly, if I was Kyle Bartley, I am sending that prick my fine. I'm walking in on Monday and just going, you see this? This week's wages, that's yours, mate. You're covering it. Because it was, I think it was Josh Windass comes over to him. And Josh Windass is not normally a peacemaker. Josh Windass is normally like, oh, do you know what? I'm going to get involved with this. And I think he goes over and like raises his hand and he's telling him, look, calm down. Like just calm down. And he pushes him, bounces past him, and then I think he realizes when it all starts into a big melee. To be fair, again, credit to him, he sees the carnage he's caused and then jogs himself off down the tunnel before anyone can get hold of him. Because, I mean, he was guaranteed a second yellow for that, because he'd already been booked for that. He then thought, I think, shit, I need to get out of here sharpish. Unfortunately, Carl Bartley took it for him.
What did you see? I sent you the tweet, didn't I, from some random football account that said that Bartley's got sent off for punching the ref, because obviously with us wearing the orange kit, it does look very referee-like, doesn't it? And then you've got the Twitter community notes underneath saying this wasn't a referee; it was Svante Ingelsson of Sheffield Wednesday.
Well, also he couldn't have punched the ref because he'd have had to have made connection with a West Bromwich Albion player yesterday. Because I mean, I personally thought the referee yesterday, the big issue he got right in terms of the disallowed goal, I honestly thought yesterday there was a point in the first half where I thought it could go out at the other end and he'd give West Brom a corner.
Yeah, he didn't know what day it was. You just said big issue there. I think he should be selling big issue, to be fair, rather than refereeing some football games. But yeah, it was poor. It wasn't good at all. But as is
frustrating.
Yeah, just very frustrating. John on X has said, haven't seen Danny look so gutted all season in his post-match interview. We didn't deserve to lose that. Yet, agree, definitely. We're just consistently inconsistent at the moment, aren't we, Matt? We just seem to, it's win, lose, draw, rinse and repeat. Our longest unbeaten run this season's 4 games, and that was 2 wins and 2 draws. Just not being able to put any sort of run together. I mean, on the flip side, we've only lost consecutive games once, or technically twice. We lost 3 in a row, didn't we, at the start of the season? Yep. After that, when we have lost, we've followed it up with either a draw or a win. So that's kind of a positive to look at, but it is just mid-table form, whichever way you look at it, isn't it, really?
It is, but what were we saying just before we come on to here, James? Is it 2 wins since the turn of the new year? Is it two league wins?
It's 2 wins since Boxing Day.
Yeah, which that's a worrying trend, especially with the 2 injuries that you've got now. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it's mid-table form.
Well, the form, Boxing Day is Middlesbrough. It's draw, lose, win, draw, lose, draw, win, draw, lose, and that's in the league. That's not including cup.
Which again, for me, I look at and I think you look at the teams who we've got coming up. Swansea, okay, a winnable game, but it's away from home and they've just won. You then go to Coventry at home. We're not great at home, and Coventry up until this weekend, absolute terrifying form. With strength, real serious strengthening in January. You then go to Burnley, who 0-0. You then play Sunderland, who have the ability to run up a score on anyone in this league. On their day, they have the opportunity to run up a score on anyone. Realistically, you could be going into the end of February and you've picked up 2 points from that. And then when do people start going, oh shit, this is bad? And I'm not wanting to be all doom and gloom and be a merchant of it, but I think that was why I was so frustrated yesterday, is to get that game back to 1-1. Okay, you only really need one win and a draw for the rest of the month, and you can't really argue. You kind of go away going, do you know what, tough month. Like we've won a game in there, we've taken true draws. Okay, we've taken 2 losses, but we've kept that kind of form that we've had all season going. Now you're looking at it and thinking, well, that's 3 games in a week and you're missing 2 of your most important players, and they're both out for a long time, and it's away from home, bloody a million miles away on Wednesday, to then come back and play one of the most informed sides in the division at home on Saturday. It's tall order, like really, really tall order this month.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Matt, do you think that's it for the playoff push? I know quite a lot of people on Twitter have been saying like we were never looking at playoffs anyway. You're deluded if you think that and stuff. Because, I mean, I'm going to kind of repeat what I said earlier. Like, 10th is a good result at the end of the season. 100% agree. But we're not. I don't think anyone's kind of stupid to think that it is actually a possibility. It's mad to think, given the quality of kind of what the football that West Brom were playing, certainly in that first half. You look at the players that they've got at their disposal, and to think that had we have won that game, had Josh Windass not been offside, we could have actually leapfrogged West Brom yesterday. Yeah. That's how mad it is. But I do think there is a stark realisation that with the injuries, with losing to West Brom, with the games we've got coming up, it is going to be a tall order, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think I'll deal with the first one first, of that initial prediction of sticking to 10th, which we discussed earlier. The squad on paper is bottom half. We said that at the start of the season. They've been overperforming and still are overperforming. This, coupled with the management team, has got to the position that we're in. 10th, with the injuries that we now have within the squad, would be a fantastic season. I think if you're now then going on to kind of like, are playoffs done? Mathematically, no, of course it's not. And of course it's not over until mathematically you can be out of it. But look at the squad who was in 6th yesterday and look at the quality who they bring off the bench. They are replacing like for like with quality. And it's, they brought on yesterday as Jed Wallace as a charity case. Now, I know Jed Wallace is no spring chicken, but if you told me in January that we'd gone out and signed Jed Wallace, I'd be thinking, oh my word, what a signing. Yeah. You speak to West Brom fans, they go, he shouldn't be anywhere near our team. You look at the wingers who they had on in place, Grady Diangana and Carlin Grant. They're their second choice wide options compared to Tom Fellows and Mikey Johnston. They're able to bring those second options off the bench. You look at the forwards, you look in terms of like, I know they haven't really had a recognised striker, but you have got Josh Madger, okay, he's out through injury, but will come back before the end of the season. Daryl DK, who realistically West Brom fans, and I'd argue no football fans, really know what he's going to offer now. And Adam Armstrong. You look at ours, we're talking about, right, if Michael Smith don't do it, a guy who doesn't score, or a lad who doesn't really score, or Callum Patterson. Like, go for it. I think, again, we were one injury away from not being able to reach top 6.
And we got 2 of them.
Yeah, and we're now 2 injuries away from it. And anyone who was defending that not signing a centre-back in the window, cool. Good for you. But it's been proved wrong. That argument has been proved flat wrong. If you add to that the Bannan injury, at worst he misses 3 games, 2 of which are in teams who are around us. When Danny was saying after the game, it could be 7 days, it could be a month, it could be 3, 4, 5, we don't know. At worst, he misses 3 games. That's West Brom, Swansea and Coventry, 2 of which are teams who are in and around us. And you look at the strength and depth of those squads compared to ours. At this stage, those are the games that you have to be taking something from if you're going to be going for playoffs, which is why, for me personally, and it always has been this season, I don't think it's a realistic aim for us.
Yeah, agreed. Let's read some 3-word match reviews out. A reminder, at WTID Pod, if you want to get involved. There was a lot of reply, 95 replies there was. So do keep them coming. I'll just read a few out. Peter said Johnson left him. Rob has said limbs, then fuck. Steve Turner, comically poor officials. Neil Dunn's gone with top 10 finish. Ben, they deserved it. Des, centre-back required. Andy Foxton, poor defending again. Rich Lock, defend corners better. Harry's gone with as expected. Ryan Guest has gone absolutely proper crap. Dan has gone with a painful one. I'll read 2 more out. Laura McCarthy said almost a point. And Steve Redfern, can't defend corners. Let's hear from Ben, your mate, from the Staffordshire Owls, and hear what he had to say.
Staffordshire Owls, staff baggies.
That's the one. Staff baggies. Apologies.
This would have been. I was about to say, James. This would have been a much more somber listening otherwise.
This is trying to do 2 things at once, and clearly can't do one. I think he felt that West Brom deserved all 3 points, but we'll hear what he had to say.
Hi, Ben here, West Brom fan. I spoke to Matt in the week to preview the game. Just want to give you my initial reaction to the game and the result. First of all, I think over the course of the 90 minutes, I think we deserved the 3 points, particularly in the first half. We created a lot of chances. Credit to you guys. You
I think we should have made it a drinking game. You've got to take a drink Christ, every time he says that they deserved all 3 points.
You defended really well, pegged us back. And it looked like it was going to be a similar story where we failed to break down a decent compact defence. I thought when you lost Bernard at centre back, I thought that might have been our opportunity to really press the issue a bit more. But again, I think it was Patterson who came on, started doing really well, and we continued to find it tough. I think he made a really good block from Dean Garner early in the first half. So like I said, you defended really well up to the point where Armstrong pops up with the first goal. You know, he's done exactly what we signed him for, to be that fox in the box, to nick us a goal when we need it. And you know, he couldn't have took it any better. I think it's a really good finish. And then, you know, I was sat there thinking, there's no reason why we can't hold on to this. And then you went up and scored in injury time, and it looked like it was going to be one of those days for us. Even after you scored the first, I thought you pushed on, and if anyone was going to score, when it was going to be you. But luckily we've nicked him with the second, and got the win from the set piece. Obviously, as an instance before all that, the disallowed goal, still not really sure why it was so late. I think Gassama is initially offside. But it's so tight, you wouldn't really blame the linesman for missing it. You know, and potentially he's giving it for Windass running across Wildsmith to block the shot, who may have been offside as well. But for me, if that's up our end and it's ruled out that late, I'm fuming. So, you know, I'm sure it's a tough one to take for you. But I think overall we deserve to win the game. Obviously delighted with the 96th minute winner. You defended really well. Your keeper had a great game. I thought Gassama was really bright, looked really sharp. From what I've seen of him, I haven't seen too much of him, but today, looking at him for 90 minutes, I think he's a real threat, and he's a real good outlet for you guys. So, exciting game towards the end as well, and it all spilled over. I'm not really sure what's gone on about handbags in the middle, but I think overall, I think we've deserved the 3 points. So yeah, delighted.
3 times in 2.5 minutes is good going, that one. But yeah, I can't really disagree with him, even though he did ram it home. But yeah, it was fairly fair reflection from from the West Brom fan there as well. So I've got some. I always ask for questions from some fans. Let's quickly go through a few of these before we quickly talk about the next two games. Chef Cam says most gutting last minute losses. This was one of them. The other one has to be Stoke on Boxing Day. That is just the one, isn't it? Can you think of any other ones that we've lost it last minute?
Not that has had such a drastic impact on me and then Sheffield Wednesday Football Club.
Yes.
Honest to God, James, because that was a Boxing Day game, wasn't it? And we were leading 2-1, and then they turned it round and obviously won 3-2. I'm sure I've told this story before, but I was staying in Hathersage at my wife's grandparents. And I remember driving back over, and I had to pull over. There was so much fog on the way back, coming back over Snakes Pass. I remember having to pull over on the way back, partly for the fog, but partly because I was still so fucking seething. Like I remember, I was sat there, couldn't really see fuck all, and I was like, "How have we lost that? Like, how have we lost that?" But then again, we've spoken about this before, James. I think that was the start of the end, really, for where Sheffield Wednesday ended up getting relegated. Because up until that point, we were cruising like third or fourth. But again, a bit of a false position. I can't think of any others that have like really massively impacted me as much. The only other one where I think I was thinking back to yesterday, and I was thinking, what's a recent one? Cardiff last year. That was painful.
Yes,
that was so painful. Will Volks playing volleyball in the penalty area, and it was like from the away end. I remember the penalty's given, and literally, like you see the ref point to it. All of the Cardiff fans celebrate. Turn to my right, mass exodus of everyone straight out for the exit. I remember just being stood there because I was on the railings for like right where kind of like everyone's coming out, and just remember being like bent over, double, like didn't even watch the penalty, just heard them shout and just thought, oh my God, that was
the game where Ike Ugbo scored for Cardiff in that game. Then Barry Bannan scores that absolute worldie as well to get us back in it, and they've got Aaron Ramsey as well, haven't they, in that game as well? But that is quite a more recent one. Got one here from Ain't No Party Like an Escalplate. I always mention him, and I always think, I say him, it could be a woman. Them, let's just say, what a fantastic name. You've just highlighted a comment there, have you?
Yeah, sorry, James. It's Paul Lyons one who worst last minute loss, 93 cup final replay. Because I was just going to say anybody who is around sort of like older than myself and you, James, will be screaming at either the pod or YouTube now going, "Oh, we're there in 93." Which says Andy Linehan's headed Arsenal winner in the last minute of extra time. Absolutely gutting. Yeah, I'll be honest, Paul. I am fucking grateful I did not go to that, because I think after that I would have been feeling... I don't even want to think how bad I would have been after that.
Anyway, Ain't No Party Like Escalplate said, if we spent 5 million each window, how many windows would it take for us to get to the playoffs? Great question. For me, on that one, it does obviously massively depend on who the manager is. But 5 million, so that's what, 10 million a season? I don't know, because when you look at what some of the money that's being splashed around at the moment, by some clubs, is even if we made a £5 million signing, bear in mind that's just 2 Ike Ugbos. Let's just put that into context. Luton are signing Mark McGuinness for 10 million in one window. If we're just going to look at it like that, I'd have to say you're looking at probably 2 seasons. So if we spent 5 million in the summer, 5 in January, I'm looking at like kind of the back end of the following season, we'd probably be in a decent position. But again, it all depends on how many, the sort of recruitment that we're doing. If we've got Danny Reel doing that, then I think it'd be a lot easier than perhaps someone else.
If we've got Danny Reel doing it too. It's my genuinely. I messaged you and you burst out laughing on when you sent me this through. It was like a heads up. I was like 2 windows. This manager has shown, on the whole, he gets recruitment right, and he works well with the recruit when they're actually fucking talking to one another. They actually get it right, and they are good and they have a good eye for players, and that's with fuck all money. You give this lot some money, and you give this manager and the coaching staff in particular money. I genuinely feel it would be 2 transfer windows to get into that top 6. Now, how competitive you are in that top 6, I think, is another argument. I think if you're talking to get our playing squad to the level of a playing squad that West Bromwich Albion have got, like the side that we played immediately yesterday, or Sunderland, for argument's sake, who went up from League One the season before us, you're talking a prolonged effort and a period of time. I don't see that being the way that Sheffield Wednesday does it. Personally, I feel it is going to be over like 2 or 3 fantastic windows and being opportunistic. Do I think that will come next season? No. If, and it is a big if, because again, it's compensation deals. If somebody doesn't take the manager 2 years from now, when the division is back down to being relatively shit because Sheffield United, Leeds, and whoever come down, then yeah, you've got a real chance in that Danny's last season under contract with us. You've got a real chance then if you've got money in the door by then.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to move on before we start talking about Swansea on Wednesday and then Coventry coming to Hillsborough on Saturday. There has been rumours of a takeover, potential interested party. We're going to be talking about that on Extra Time. So again, head over to patreon.com/WTID pod if you want to find that one. I should put this comment up from Knack Gaming. Everyone keeps saying Danny's leaving at the end of the season, but you have to remember he's still under contract. Yeah, you're right there. I'm going to turn into prime Matt Letizia here and give you conspiracy theory. Again, nothing to back this up one bit. They weren't talking. Danny and Deshpon were not talking. That was made abundantly clear at the fans forum. Then Danny says that they are going to be speaking on, it was a Monday, kind of a week before the transfer window closed. Then Danny comes out and he's got glowing reports of Chansiri. He said, "Oh yeah, it's been a great relationship and all this, that, and the other." Now, my conspiracy theory is it would not surprise me in the slightest if following this conversation that they've had, any sort of compensation deal or anything like that has been waived as long as he stays until the end of the season. Again, I've got absolutely nothing to back this up. It's just kind of the way that I'm thinking, and it would be kind of plausible because Danny went from being down in the dumps to almost like
Giddy as a school. Yeah,
bouncing off the ceiling. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, again, no idea, nothing to back that up. But
no,
if he's been told, just stay until the end of the season, and then you can leave and go to whoever else that may be.
Sorry, James. Ben, who did the preview, he's watching this, has just messaged me just saying, just to clarify, I think we deserve to win.
Wait a minute, let's have another drink.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's only water. So
I mean, just on that, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some mileage in that. I think the other thing is as well, I think although people will be very unhappy about the way that Danny handled the perceived basically throwing his toys out the pram when the offer of compensation wasn't as high as it needed to be and he wasn't happy that the chairman played ball, there's still been a lot of broken promises from one side to the other in terms of transfer funds available. No matter what a number of people want to say, 3 million isn't a transfer budget to be competitive in the Championship. Yes, he's had money. Yes, he's bought players in. The chairman mentioned at that fans forum, he wanted 6 players. I bought him 11. Maybe he wanted 6 fees paying for players rather than just 11 frees and EK Ugbo for 2.5 million. If you're telling me, because we have just discussed this, I think we've done the whole budget on Stuart Armstrong, bringing him in because we knew Bannan was injured. If our entire budget is blown out the water by a 32-year-old playing for Vancouver Whitecaps, we've got a fucking problem.
Matt, sorry to break it to you, we've got a fucking problem.
There we go. Now you're going to tell me there's a centre-back out until the end of the season.
Yeah, Joe, it's that Ant and Deck meme, innit?
Yeah.
Now tell him that Deshaun Bernard's injured as well.
Yeah, 100%. But it is, I am very much of the opinion that if this manager is here past the summer in one capacity or another, whether somebody pays a compensation fee, whether the compensation fee is waived, or whether ultimately he just simply walks and then a week later walks into a new job. I know a load of people have talked about non-competes, but ultimately that's what you pay lawyers and agents for. They get around them. It is what it is. I will be very, very surprised if this time next season we are still sat here talking about this manager in charge of this football club.
Yeah, I agree. Quickly then, Matt said, with the fixtures coming up, I feel the next two are massive and wins a must. If we lose both, I think there'll be a turn to our season for the worse, potentially. Well, the next two coming up, Swansea City away on Wednesday, and then, as mentioned, Coventry come to us on Saturday. Swansea first, then they're sat 17th. Draw, lose, and then they've just beaten Bristol City 1-0 today. Luke Williams is there. What did I say, sorry?
Of course they have.
Right,
Sorry,
yeah.
I just said of course they have, James.
Yeah, exactly. No win in our last 7 meetings with Swansea. Another bogey side.
Solid.
Last time that we won away at Swansea, 1983. We've never won at the Swansea.com stadium, as it's affectionately known, in our 7 visits. There is a massive gap after 83 up until 2005, I think it is. So again, that's where stats can paint a different picture. But still, we haven't won there at all, and don't travel well over there. So having said that, we hadn't won at Pride Park for a very long time up until this season, and we hadn't won at the TBS at all again until this season. So who knows? Maybe we're going to break that duck as well and win at the Swansea.com stadium. But how do you think we're going to approach this one? Because it's anyone's guess who's going to be playing with all the injuries that we've got in it. You never know. Yeah. Bannan might just walk out like
just on one leg, just on one knee, just injected up to fuck, and then
possibly.
Half time it just starts wearing off.
He might still be better than Nathaniel Shalabar anyway, even with one leg. But yeah, what's your thoughts, mate?
I think over the 2 of these games, you need 4 points. That's a non-negotiable. Again, at this point in time, I know this is really dour, and I've been spouting it for a few weeks. Get to 50 points as quick as you can, and then let's start talking about how long's left. Historically, in 3-game weeks, we do okay. Like this season, it's felt like in 3-game weeks we do all right, and we have had a couple of wins midweek. But this Swansea game at Hillsborough earlier on in the season, aside from being really fucking dour, we found it really difficult to break this lot down, mainly because you don't see the ball for 90 minutes. Now, we're better at that away from home, and I think we've had almost a taste of that this weekend at the Hawthorns with a side who like to keep the ball as well. I think this is a really, really difficult game in the midweek, and I think it's one that shouldn't be underestimated. I know their league position is where it is, but ultimately you know exactly what you're going to get from a Swansea side, which is they monopolise the ball, and you see it very rarely. It's just, can we have a second half performance like we had at the weekend where actually we do start piling on pressure? Because I think if we have a second half performance like we saw at the weekend, personal opinion, Swansea aren't good enough to cope with that and they'll fold. But it's, can you get there? Can you put yourself in that position?
That's it, and I think as well we do perform better without the ball. Like when we play teams on the counter, we do seem to have more joy. They like to have a lot of the ball, so it kind of plays into our hands. And then Swansea fans are saying that they're very stuck in the ways. Like that's just they play like that all the time. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Before I talk about Coventry a second, Gary's just said, you think Roll leaves at the end of the season just like you thought Luton would win the league. Gary, all I'm going to say on that one, all I'm going to say on that one is, you show me anyone that had Luton further down, well, like in the position that they're in at the moment, and also. Deep down, Gary, you thought Luton were going to be up near the top as well.
Gary, if 1 out of 2 comes true, I'm 50% right.
Yeah, definitely. Coventry, then, yeah, they've been on the opposite run to what Swansea have been on. 2 defeats, bookending 4 wins under. Frank Lampard's Coventry City. I apologise. I have to get that one in there. Yeah, they've kind of shot up the league somewhat. They're sat just below us in 12th. It's another one that we I do agree with Matt. Like we have got to win these next 2 games, but we can't take them for granted. And also, we've got into the position that we've been in with a fully fit Barry Bannan, and we haven't got that, and we desperately need to find someone that can give us that sort of creativity. We can't just look to Jeddy Gassama, even though he has got a new song, which is great.
Yeah.
We can't just keep looking to him for all the attacking outlet.
No, we can't. And dare I say it, is this break glass in case of emergency for Charlie McNeil to actually see some football? Because the thing, I'm not saying he's the answer because he's a kid and I don't think we should be putting that much pressure on him. And Danny clearly sees him as a long-term project. You need something in the middle of the park, and I thought, to be fair, I will give him some credit because I didn't do so obviously during the main discussion of this. I thought Josh Windass did really well considering he had the burden of the armband on him. I thought he captained the side really well, and I thought his performance was good aside from a run for an offside disallowed goal. The difference being, I think if you allow Josh Windass a little bit more creative freedom and license maybe in across that front line and don't ask him to hold down or stick down a position, and you maybe had, let's say, Shea Charles, Stuart Armstrong next to him if Stuart Armstrong can play 3 games in a week.
He needs to. He's got to, hasn't he?
Yeah, and then say, for argument's sake, Windass at the tip of that, and then you put Charlie McNeil out wide and just say to Windass and McNeil, you two are going to have to sort this out between the two of you in terms of if one's inside, one goes wide. Because without Bannan on the pitch, I think our most creative player from that central position is Josh Windass. And Anthony Masaba and Jeddy Gassama on the pitch, we've seen enough times doesn't work. And hasn't worked. If Ibrahim Sissoko is fit, I'd love to see him get some minutes at some point. But again, from what Danny was suggesting beforehand, I don't think he's going to be ready. He might be ready for Coventry to see some sort of an appearance. I think you've got to just try creative solutions here, because this is the first time, as you rightly say, in a long time, we're playing without our talisman. And you've got to try something different.
I just can't believe we lose one player and then the whole world just seems to be crumbling. Like, I've never felt this dejected since losing to Forest Green, a couple of seasons back. Do you know what I mean? I can't believe it's just one man that's just picked up a bit of an injury, which footballers do. But yeah,
but we saw this. Was it the 2018-19 season, or was it the season before that, the 16? It must have been the 18-19 one where Bannan got injured for a little spell. He got injured for a little spell, or was it 16? Or was it 17-18?
I think it's 17-18 because
every other bastard was injured, and it was Adam Reach who ended up, I think, captaining us and playing in that role, and that was where Adam Reach had his best season for us, I think. But yeah, we've played basically week in, week out with him there then since then.
He's missed 18 games. In that period of time, he's played 244.
Yeah. He's got and that's why we are at an absolute crisis point. But again, we're covering old ground here in James in terms of recruitment that should have and could have been made beforehand. But hey, there we go.
Exactly. Score predictions then. Swansea.
1-1.
I'm going to go for a 1-0 win against Swansea. And then Coventry, I'm going to go for... I've got to predict 2 wins. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win, go behind and come back to win the game.
I'm sick to death of the fucking sight of Coventry, I'll be honest with you, James. I cannot wait to not see them for another season. And of course, we'll play them twice next year as well. I would love us to get a win here. I just think they're going to roll into Sheffield 6 next Saturday and somehow get some level of revenge on us for earlier on in the season. I could see this being 2-1 the other way to Coventry.
Fair enough. I hope you're wrong, and I
hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm as wrong as predicting Luton to finish champions. Genuinely.
Yeah. Right. Let's wrap things up there. I just want to say a massive thanks to everyone that's contributed in the comments. always great to hear from you all. As always, obviously everyone that's watched live, everyone that's listened on the podcast version as well. As I've mentioned, we're going to sit down and talk about Barry Bannan, the impact that he has at the club, and whether we should be prepping for life after Baz. I've also got a tin hat opinion incoming as well. So if you want to listen to that one, head over to patreon.com/WTID pod, and you'll be able to listen to that from Monday morning. All these mistakes, thank you very much. We'll see you on Thursday with the debate show following that trip to Wales in midweek. Hopefully we'll come back with 3 points for the first time ever. But yeah, we'll see you then. Thank you very much, and goodbye.